Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. We're here today on our Wellness and Weight Loss Wednesday episode of the week on the Cabral Concept, and we're going to be going over a specific diet that was recommended to their physicians and 9 million patients. And it was actually written up in the journal by Kaiser Permanente, the largest U.S. managed care organization. And it was backed by clinical research to have for physicians to actually share with their patients. Now, there's a couple caveats because they said that these are for the patients that are dealing with, and I'm going to read you the exact list from them, and I'm going to link up then all of these reports for you. It's completely free, and you can find them with the big takeaways as well and specific video at stephencabral.com/2469. stephencabral.com/2469. So this diet was actually recommended for physicians, so this is a physician-based journal, to give to their patients that were dealing with patients who wanted to lower their cholesterol or lower their blood pressure or lower their blood sugar. Think cardiovascular disease, blood pressure issues, type 2 diabetes. This diet would also be given for people wanting to reverse or prevent heart disease. So future patients as well. Patients that wanted to live a longer life. Patients that wanted to get to a healthier weight. So typically losing weight. A lot of people with type 2 diabetes, overweight, this is bringing that down. If they want to lower their risk for cancer and diabetes. If they want to slow the progression of certain types of cancer. If they want to improve certain symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis. If they want to reduce or eliminate certain medications. If they want to lower food costs. And if they want something that's overall good for the environment. I think that last one's a little bit questionable because, again, I always read things from an unbiased perspective. But I like to say, yeah, the rest of them I can see where they're coming from for sure, especially since all of those can be clinically proven. So I'm going to get to this diet in just a moment, but there are a few other interesting excerpts from the journal article. Again, this goes out to physicians, and we're told to recommend it for their patients. So what they also found was they have to be careful when putting people on this diet that I'm about to share with you because they may need to come off of their medication and they must be monitored closely. The diet works so well that their blood pressure readings may drop to normal. And if you're on medication, you could end up with feelings of lightheadedness or dizziness or weakness and actually pass out. It's important to look at that. If you're on our cholesterol-lowering medication, like a statin drug, well, your cholesterol may go too low and you feel those same levels of weakness and inability to produce the hormones that you need as well. And same for type 2 diabetes. And again, these are the big three that we always talk about. So your blood sugar may drop down to healthy levels. And if you're still giving yourself insulin, well, you might bring it too low and, again, pass out, faint, go into a diabetic coma. All of these things are important to look at. And it was interesting that they stated them in the article because so many physicians had experienced those results. And when I share with you this diet, before I do so, I want us to take a deep breath. We are in the health and wellness-based industry. A lot of practitioners listen to this show. I appreciate you and appreciate all the hard work that you put in with your wellness clients and patients. But many people have dogmas around diets. They believe in their diet and they're almost willing to fight to the death for it. I do not understand this. I cannot understand this. As practitioners, our first goal is to do no harm. And our second is to serve. So ideally, we are serving and doing no harm. And we are always meant to put our patients and wellness clients' needs before our own dogmas and ego and belief. That is what's going to allow us to move forward in both allopathy and naturopathy, conventional medicine and natural health. We have to do this. So if you're fixated that there is one best diet, I think we need to be careful with that dogmatic-based approach, because I'm not sure that it serves you or the people that you intend to serve. So I'm going to share this diet with you, and I think that we're all going to agree pretty closely, except for, the staunch carnivores, which, again, like if you're still a carnivore, I don't know what's going on, because even the original carnivores are like, yeah, you should eat fruit. Yeah, you can have some honey. Yes, you can do maple syrup. Yes, again, it's silly, right? It's because it's absurd to look at a human's digestive tract and their teeth and everything about them and assume they should only eat meat. Again, you're fighting against biology and physiology if you still believe that. But anyway, I've done that show before. So most of us, though, will agree with this diet until we start to get to the very end. And so I just ask you to just question your beliefs to a degree, and I'll go over mine as well. All right, so here we go. This was an example of the average lunch and dinner that a physician could recommend to their patient, or a practitioner could recommend to their client, to help with cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, reversal and prevention of heart disease, longer life, healthy weight, reduce cancer, reduce diabetes, improve autoimmune issues like rheumatoid arthritis, reduce medications or cough or come off of them, and maybe even lower food costs. Here's the diet that was recommended. And again, I'll link up as much information as I can get you, literally all the different plans and everything I can get you for completely free at stephencabral.com/2469. All right, so half of the plates. So when we look at a lunch plate and a dinner plate, now here's the thing. I just want to state one thing before this. You can still use intermittent fasting with this nutrition plan, and I recommend it. Okay, so you can do a 12-hour intermittent fast from 6 at night to 8 in the morning. You could do a 14-hour, that's 14 hours. You could do 6 at night to 6 in the morning. And again, I like 3 hours, 4 hours before you go to bed to stop eating, because you'll see all your biometrics improve. I've got that on another show. But maybe you do 8 to 8, that's 12 hours. All right, but let's say it's 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, that's 14 hours. Maybe you do 6 o'clock at night to 10 in the morning, that's 16 hours. All right, you can still get in 3 meals per day if you want. It's totally up to you, or maybe you're doing 2 meals a day. But either way, let's just talk about lunch and dinner on today's show. This is the template essentially for lunch and dinner. Half of the plate is going to be non-starchy vegetables. Doesn't seem too wild yet, right? You're just going to pick some, whatever you want for vegetables. Maybe it's salad, because that's simple for you. Okay, try to go for some dark leafy greens if you can. Maybe it's sliced tomato. Maybe it's broccoli. Maybe it's cauliflower. Maybe it's asparagus. Maybe it's bok choy. Maybe do a couple if you want, right? So half your plate, non-starchy vegetables, right? And then you can do 25% of your plate for a starchy vegetable. That could be sweet potatoes, yams. Japanese yams are one of my favorite. Purple potatoes, yuca, if I haven't mentioned that. Any type of starchy, potato-like root vegetable. Might even be like carrots and sliced beets and things like that too. That could work as well. All right, so that's a fourth of your plate. And then on the side, you can add some nuts or a little side salad as well. So like an example of this meal, I'm going to actually just give you an example, because this is something that I do at lunch quite often. I will do 1 or 2 cups of broccoli. Okay, but if I don't do 2 cups of broccoli, then I might add in some cauliflower instead. Simple. Then 1/4 will be something like butternut squash. And again, I just gave the example on yesterday's show or the day before. I think it was Monday, actually. Super simple. All of this could be frozen if you wanted to. You just put it on a tray in your oven, you're basically good to go. Okay, so that's done, right? And again, if you're on a lower carb diet, well, replace the starchy carb, like the butternut squash cubes, with just another vegetable. That's all. Or your side salad, all right? Then if you want, you could add some heart-healthy nuts to the meal. 1 ounce is tiny. You're talking about like a tablespoon. So a tablespoon of crushed macadamia nuts, delicious. Or crushed walnuts for your omega-3s, fantastic, okay? So good. Or almond slivers. Then you're just adding that on top of your veggies. You just crush it. You can put them right on top if you want. All right. Now, they also say to add like a half a cup of fruit. This is the only thing that I don't recommend, right? So like I'm saying, if you're going to do fruit, great. Maybe do it at breakfast or do it a half hour before the meal because it's not the best food combiner, but we'll save that for another day. All right. So I think that most of us that are pretty open-minded, this is basically a paleo-based meal, right? It's like, okay, we've got our non-starchy vegetables, our broccoli and cauliflower, bok choy, salad, whatever you want to say. Then we've got that's a half. Then we've just got 25%, a fourth of our plate of butternut squash or Japanese yams, purple potatoes, anything like that. Okay, fantastic, right? So we've got that. Now there's 25% left on your plate. And it's funny because all of the IHPs that are listening to this, they know that this is actually just a balanced diet that we give people as a template. So the 25%, quarter of the plate is what we're all going to disagree on. Not everybody, but everybody already has their side chosen. What do you put in that 25%? What do you think? Was it meat? Was it fish? Was it eggs? Was it dairy? Or was it some type of plant-based protein like beans or legumes? Well, what they recommended were the beans and legumes. So now is where we have this big disagreement with most people, but yet we're only talking about 25% of the plate. So I think if we step back and we say, okay, maybe if this is being recommended, and it is, and there's almost no downside, again, if you have digestive issues, if you have autoimmune issues, just, again, please fix those because there's an underlying root cause. Fix your digestive system, fix your gut, rebalance your bacteria, heal and seal the 26 feet of lining of your gut, rebalance the immune system, slowly reintroduce some plant-based protein. I'm not saying, again, they're recommending that you could go all plant-based. There's lots of studies on this. And if you really look at the research unbiased, it's pretty strong. But I also believe that you don't need to totally eliminate meat and fish and eggs. I think you can be just as healthy, maybe even for some people healthier with a little bit of that in there. What I don't want to do is find one point that we disagree on that we can't come together on the other 75 plus percent, 80%, right? So what I'm sharing with you is this, especially if you're a practitioner. Maybe what I've learned in my practice, and I've seen work really well, is that people do one plant-based dish per day at lunch or dinner, and one may have the meat and the fish and whatever else they want to add. So I actually have another podcast that I will link up called A Day in My Life, or A Day in the Life of My Mediterranean Diet. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to copy me. I'm just giving you an example. It's very easy. I will oftentimes do plant-based until dinner. And that is because I'm working, I'm go. But I know from the research that although this is not going to lead to the most muscle on a person's body, there's no doubt about that, it will lead to most likely greater longevity. So again, the last point I want to bring to you is this. Transforming your body and adding more muscle is not contiguous or synonymous or equates to health. If you want to add more muscle and a lot more size and transform your body, a higher protein and then slightly lower or moderate carb diet is going to be better. Getting 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight that you want to weigh is going to be better. But I can tell you, it's not going to lead to the longest, healthiest life possible. It's just not. If you understand how AMPK works, mTOR works, and the overall anabolic and catabolic nature of the body, it's just not going to happen. Now, there are things that you can do in order to push it into your favor, and that has to do with intermittent fasting, which is why for everybody, no matter what diet you follow, 99 out of 100 people should be doing some type of 12-hour to 16-hour intermittent fast, because that's going to offset a lot of the damage that we do by our diets oftentimes. So I wanted to bring this to you. I know it's always a controversial topic when we talk about eating more plant-based. I don't understand why. We're going by the research. This looks good. If there's digestive issues, please, that has nothing to do with being plant-based. That has to do with having an imbalanced immune system and digestive system, and you can fix those things. Like you really can. I talked about on yesterday's show. So what I want to do, though, is just make sure that I can always be a voice for what the research backs up and some of the top cardiologists in the entire world, some of the top doctors and researchers in the entire world. Now, you can always cherry pick studies to say, hey, look at this, look at this, look at this. And someone in their 20s can always be on a carnivore diet and be like, hey, I don't even need carbohydrates. But again, you can get away with a lot. The human body's amazing in that way. But is it optimal? That's what I'm looking for. My goal as we start to move into next year is high performance. Having people feel great now while living to 100 plus. And if you want to live to 100 plus, you need to start doing it now. You honestly do. I just talked about on last Friday's show. Alzheimer's begins to show up 20 years before. There are 16 different proteins that we know to test for now, out of the 38 that show up 5 years before. Trust me, disease begins in the body with every bite of food that we eat, with every lack of sleep, with over-exercise, under-exercise, etc. If you haven't read my book, The Rain Barrel Effect, I would definitely check it out. It's literally free. You just pay for shipping at StephenCabral.com. But it's an unbiased, balanced look, I think, at how we get sick, how we gain weight, and how we can get well again. And it doesn't mean that you need to be vegan. But moving a little bit more plant-based is literally erring on the side of caution. That's it. Like there's literally no downside to it unless you are looking to be a bodybuilder. And then I agree, it's going to be more challenging. You can get there, just more challenging. But if your goal is to be in great shape, not a bodybuilder, be in great shape and live a healthy life for a really long period of time and see your kids grow up and their kids grow up, which is what I'm looking to do, I think we have to start looking at things a little bit different. So I just wanted to share this with you here today. I'd love to hear your comments. It's okay if you disagree. Like I'm good with that. As long as we can be civil, we don't even need to debate each other. Let's just share ideas. That's what this is all about. Because remember, if you're a practitioner, you're here to serve. That's what this is all about. So I'd love to hear your ideas as well. Let's keep things civil, right? Let's all be friends. Let's be kind as I try to teach my daughters. So head on over to StephenCabral.com/2469 for all the research, the short videos, all the different printouts, and then leave your comment right on Instagram or social media. We would love to hear from you. Take care. Have an amazing day. And of course, if this was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only 2 ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to StephenCabral.com/rainbarrel.